So this is just an example now. I've left a couple of telephone messages. I left one with Mark Francois because he's quite good in these debates. I used to like the other Tory MP. I forgot his name now. Danny Kruger, but I think he's not. He's lost his seat. I think Danny Kruger. And then there was another guy in this debate as well who I contacted. I've also contacted Jamie Stone as well, but I think Jamie Stone was wrong in what he said. I'm just going to play this clip of this first woman. There's a lot to say about this debate. It's definitely not worthy of 3 million signatures of the whole country. I don't really believe these MPs know how deep they're in with the water, particularly when it comes to the fact that we've got law and legislation in place that if people in local areas get more than 5% of people signed, it cannot be debated in a local area. And I know that it's not a local matter, but powers were given to the courts to bring special election petition trials by individuals from local areas when elections are running in local areas for Parliament. And there's three main acts of law, including the Recall of MPs Act, and there's another one which we need to get, a 1868 Act, which is going to, I think it's going to be the decider on this, and it's currently not being available on legislation.gov.uk. I've asked pretty much everyone, Francois, Jamie Stone, the Speaker's Office, to get this document up on there or to provide it to us. We shouldn't have to pay for that either because it's needed as evidence. But I'm going to play this woman. I think she's called Yasmin. I didn't get all her name. She's an MP, but I'm sure I'll get her name in. In fact, I'll tell you what. I'll type it in on my other phone now because I'm speaking on one phone. I think they said Yasmin, MP. Oh, here she is. So this is it. I've got her name up. So it's Yasmin Qureshi. Yasmin Qureshi or Qureshi. This is definitely her. She reminds me of Priti Patel. But this is now the type of MP that we've got in Parliament. What I was saying is that in 1837, the MPs, the type of MP, the calibre of MP, was a lot like the type of person, for example, that Jordan Peterson is. And I know that I do criticise Jordan Peterson a lot, but he's open to criticism, and it's just his whole character and style and manner. When you read any Hansard dialogue or parliamentary records from the 1800s, and that's when they started making more detailed records from 1800 onwards, more thorough records and dialogue, it's just a lot more intellectual and intelligent. And I think that since at least the 1980s, when Margaret Thatcher was in government, it's become a pantomime and stage show and scripted. And in fact, it's got worse and worse and worse and worse until they're going out of their way not to debate and challenge things. It's extremely superficial now. In fact, it's almost kind of like a sort of advice page, or the government don't actually like to lift the bonnet up under the hood anymore. They just want to give you a very simple, plain message, like it's some sort of app or tablet. It's almost like when you used to have Microsoft on your computer, and you used to be able to make your own programs and apparently go into the coding and change Windows and a technical level of Windows, like, change the law and make laws. And now they don't want you to do that with devices. They just want it to make it very simple, like some kind of nursery school thing where you just press yes or no or whatever, And that's the standard we've got to with MPs. And someone's working behind the scenes and doing complicated and technical law, but it's not always right. And we don't seem to be accessing that level of intellect when we're presented with these sort of meetings. Are very superficial. But let me just play this woman now when she speaks, because she couldn't be more wrong. And what she's doing is she's accusing everyone else of being wrong for even doing the petition. Yet what she says is wrong. And we're meant to have all this fact checking and all this political correctness and so forth. But let me just play this now, because I'm probably going to ring her up and give her a phone message and just simply say, I just want to give you some feedback about your meeting. You said this, you said that, and I don't think you're right.
It's not normally used as a mechanism to hijack.
Let's just go back a bit. We need to get this woman in the green sweater, this Welsh lady.
A general election. I call Yasmin Qureshi.
Yasmin Qureshi. That's it. She's calling Yasmin Qureshi, right?
Can I start off by saying that petitions normally in our parliament have been used often to discuss a particular issue of concern to people in the country. I have to say, it's not normally used as a mechanism to hijack and play party politics.
Right, well, she's completely and utterly wrong about that. She doesn't know anything about Parliament's history or politics, right? We can confidently and absolutely clearly, without question, say that recall of MPs or getting MPs re-elected and their seats in Parliament has always been done by petition to government, whether it's been dealt with in the House, but in the Chamber, or in committees, right? It is a tradition, a long-going tradition, in fact, all the way, from the start of Parliament, actually up until 1868. So, that's, I don't know where we want to start counting from, but if we're going to start counting from at least William the Conqueror, that's 1,680 years, right? And we're in 2024 now, right? So a larger part of Parliament's existence has been where they do debate it in the Chamber about the seats of other MPs. And let's just say that in the Senate, in America, in the Senate, any member of the Senate, I think, can be challenged by the other members on a vote. They can challenge them to have them removed for various reasons, right? It's what the American Constitution is based on. And what I will say, this is really important to say this, the reason, right? Why did they stop doing that? Why did they stop doing it? Well, it's never, let's get this clear, it has never, ever been only up to the King, right, to call any single MP's recall or all of them. It doesn't matter whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, right? If they've all done something wrong, then recall all of them, right? Depends how many signatures you get, and depending on what areas. It's never been down only to the Prime Minister either. It was debated in the main chamber, or it could be referred, they set up a committee to deal with it, right? Well, they got a privileges committee. So she's just wrong, right? And this is the thing. She's going on about hijacking. Oh, no, they're using petitions to hijack the government. No. It's part of the business. The conduct of MPs and the security of their seats, it is a parliamentary matter. How do they get there? And it's for the people who put them there to decide whether they should stay there or not if they're performing. That's one of the functions, right? And it might not have to be just the people from that electorate. Well, what happens if the MP has done something really bad and everyone in the country is, annoyed with it and they want them removing? And everyone what happens if 5 counties challenge one county? What happens if one county's got an MP and all of his constituents protect him and say, oh, we don't want them removed, but everyone in the country wants him removed? What if they outvote him, right? So she's just wrong. She's wrong. She hasn't, put it this way, right? There's been 3 million signatures collected, right? And most of these MPs have got about 1, 2, 3, 4, up to around 4,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 people signing in their constituencies. Probably a lot more people signing this petition than they've got other members of their constituency ringing them up about other matters, right? And if even if they've got even if she had 2,000 people ringing them up about 2,000 separate things, when you've got 2,000 people ringing up about the same thing, that's priority. So this petition, whether she likes it or not, is the main priority of her business, right? And she's done so that, and added to the other people in the rest of the country who signed it, right? You would think that this is really important. You can't really get much more important, right? Now, she's done no historical research. She's got access to the parliamentary library. She's got a secretary. She's also got staff at her constituency office. She's done no historical research on it, none, right? I don't know if she's been primed, groomed, guided by clerks, parliamentary staff in Parliament, or whoever, legal advisors, if they've supposedly done it for all these people. But Jamie Stone stood up, he made a claim or statement. He said only the King or Prime Minister can call it. No one challenged him on that. No one said, right, well, we're here to debate a general election. Can we have one or not? And we're going to challenge you on that. That's what part of the evidence is for. The other question is, why should we have one? Well, because Labour have not performed. So she just hasn't done any research. I mean, within about 5 minutes, I found a very thorough Kidderminster University PDF paper. Sorry, Worcester University. It was about the history of Kidderminster. Ironically, I think that guy who did this petition, this Call a General Election petition, is from the West Country. He's got a pub in the West Country, which I don't think is too far from Worcester and Kidderminster, which is ironic. That university paper tells you absolutely everything about why did they open up the remit to the courts? Why is it decidable in the courts now? Well, it's decidable in the courts because people can bring election petitions, or the Crown Prosecution Service can bring election petitions, which means that you can have special election courts to deal with elections and members' seats, right? Now, the petition is about Labour, not just the Prime Minister, the whole party, all of the members. They all ran, they stood for Labour, and they said, this is our manifesto and this is what we're going to do, and these are our pledges, right? And that's why people turned up to vote for them, right? And the petition's saying that they've gone back on their promises and what they said they were going to do. So that means that when they ran for election, standing for the party, this is the thing, right? When Labour Party members don't vote the way that Keir Starmer wants them to vote, they're not allowed to stand for his party anymore, which means that they've got a very slim chance of getting elected if they're not standing for the Labour Party, because people vote for Labour, right? Just for the party. Doesn't matter who's standing. So it's all about what Labour are going to do. It's not really about the person, because, people hardly really know these people that well. They don't even really know them personally, or what kind of person they are. They're mainly voting for a party, not for the person. And really, I'm meant to be voting for the person. It's like Mark Franchois, is he the sort of MP that you want, who's going to turn up, who's going to argue and debate something and give evidence and answer telephone calls, reply to emails and so forth. When I was going to meet Mark Eastwood, they called the pandemic and locked everyone down, and I couldn't go meet him like the day before or 2 days before. And that's the only time that I've ever, that's the closest I've got to getting a surgery with an MP. I've never been to see an MP. Not many people do, how many people go and see their MP? I never saw Barry Shearman, although I'm a little bit out of his area, but he did sign something off for me once because I thought he was my MP, but he wasn't, funnily enough. But he did sign it off, a complaint to the Ombudsman. But I never went in to see Barry Shearman. I wasn't a great fan of Barry Shearman, to be honest, but I was booked in to see Mark Eastwood, the day before. I went actually going past there on the bus, Skelmanthorpe. I went to suss the place out to have a little look, to familiarise myself, myself. Not familiarise myself with the building, like where am I going to be meeting in, what room is it, is there anywhere to sit and wait, are there any chairs there, I don't want to get lost, I went past to see, this is where I'm, to get my bearings and to get familiarised, and I never met him. I didn't get to go see him, so... And now he's lost his seat, and we've got an independent MP, and they've changed all the borders. They've split all the borders up and changed all the county borders anyway. But anyway, let me get back to this. So there is a Kidderminster paper from Worcester University about the history of elections, and what it says is that there were lots of cheating going on. It was highly corrupt, the whole electoral system, and MPs were not representing fairly in Parliament. They were all cheating in Parliament, and they were. This is partisan politics. You see, when it went from Roundheads and Royalists and into Whigs and Tories, and then you've got your Liberals, but then the Labour Party appeared, and your suffragettes and so forth. They become corrupt because of partisan politics. What they should have done is actually ban political parties. What they should have done in 1868, instead of getting the removal of MPs, opening it up to the courts because Parliament was corrupt and not competent, that means that then, rather than parliamentary privilege, you see, what this woman doesn't understand is it was Parliament's business because of parliamentary privilege. When you've got MPs elected, right, why wouldn't it be Parliament's business? But by petition and by the people who elect them and vote them in, have the power to take them back out again. And if we say they have to debate it in the chamber, then they have to. No one else can decide it because it's parliamentary privileged. But what they did in 1868 is because of their corruption, because of MPs' corruption, because they were protecting each other and not doing it trustworthy, they opened it up when it's usually privileged to Parliament. They opened it up to the courts, and then private persons could challenge elections through the courts, because otherwise you couldn't challenge it through the courts, could you? Because it's privileged to Parliament. So this woman, she just hasn't got a clue, and this is why MPs like Yasmin Qureshi, I just can't advocate them. It's like, and I don't. We have to speak our truth, right? And my truth, to me, is that Yasmin Qureshi does not belong in the Parliament of England. She isn't the calibre of person that we need to run the country. It might be good PR. It might look good to, the ethnic groups of London. It might look like we're being fair. It might look that there are equal opportunities to women and so forth. But she's just not up to the job intellectually. She's not intellectually at the calibre for the Parliament of England that we need. She's just not doing her research. But saying that, I don't think Jamie Stone is either, because I don't think Jamie Stone has looked at and read the law properly. So, I mean, can I separate Yasmin Qureshi from Jamie Stone when he's got all his, traditional gentleman clothing on, and he's got his vocabulary, his parliamentary vocabulary, and it's all right and honourable and an honour to serve in front of, the chairman and blah, 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 blah. It's all right. Being able to go out onto the stage in theatre, it's all right being able to, conduct an orchestra or, come out with a trombone and a brass band and a waistcoat and so forth. But do you know the law? Do you know the legislation and the procedures and the history? And I just don't think that these people have put the time or care into learning and reading and don't want to. I think it's their opinion. I think that what Qureshi is speaking is her opinion as a woman and how she feels about it. She's not speaking of facts and truth. Her facts are wrong. Her facts are incorrect. And apparently, fraud and forgery is not parliamentary privilege. That means that she should be in front of the Privileges Committee for lying. We were all getting criticised on the internet for not telling the truth or for giving misinformation and so forth. And they're standing up here misleading everyone. And in fact, they're saying, no, why should we even have to debate this? You know, it's been hijacked. And that's a matter that I'll go on to in a minute. But the Recall of MPs Act leaves, Article 10B leaves it open to other means for removing any MP, or it doesn't have to be one, it could be as many MPs as you want, which is the previous traditional method. When we see this 1868 Act, we'll know for sure when I get hold of it, which I'm trying to get hold of it now. We'll find out. I can't see how it has... They can't take away the power from Parliament because we, the subjects, have got the right to petition on any matter. But she's trying to make out that it's none of Parliament's business and it never was, which is just wrong. It is, because it was privilege to Parliament. Once you get elected into Parliament, how could a court do it? They opened up parliamentary privilege to the lower court so they could even hear the matter. Or else otherwise it'd be like Lord Anningfield, you know? Now let me just carry on, press play and play the rest of this.
In the last 14 years, we saw crisis after crisis caused by the ill-thought policy.
Was she trying to make out that 14 years, that it's the 14 years of the last... you see, she could be trying to cover herself there and trying to make out that beyond 14 years, in regards to what I just said previously, you know, but I don't think so. I don't think, and even if she was aware that they were debating MP seats, you know, in prehistory, or in the previous 1,000 years of Parliament or whatever, up to 1868, you know, now she's concentrating on the last 14 years. But, you know, let's get facts right. Can you or can you not petition about it? And I say, yeah, you can. And I say they can't stop you. And I say that it's never been the King or Prime Minister. The King or Prime Minister can do it. The question is, there's two different phrases. There's the phrase, the Prime Minister can call a general election or can ask the King. The King can call a general election. Those two people can. But the error is by saying only the Prime Minister can or only the King can, which is wrong. They have got the power to do it, right? As opposed to they don't have the power to do it, but it's not only they have, because all the way through, it's the power of MPs to debate Parliament matters, which is the privilege of Parliament to debate their own business. And they did assign it to a committee at one point, but because of the corruption, they opened it up to the courts, and we can individually bring election petitions, which is it's a petition. It's even called a petition, election petition, because you're challenging the MP seat for whatever matter, usually to do with the election. But what this Westwood guy has called it on is that they've gone back on the things that they ran on. And when Labour tried to get elected on particular statements and claims and promises, that is election related. It was an electoral campaign, electoral promises. Why should we turn up and vote for you because we're going to do this or that? Well, when they don't do this or that, running on something that they claim they were going to do in order to get elected, that's something that you prosecute them with an election petition. And what I was saying to Mark Franchois is that, well, what happens when every single MP in the country wants to be challenged? Are we going to take them to court? Well, firstly, the Crown Prosecution Service are refusing to prosecute. The Crown Prosecution Service are refusing to have election petitions. I've reported it to the Electoral Commission. I've reported them to the Electoral Commission multiple times about many, many things that I've found through study in the law, particularly like Jacob Rees-Mogg providing entertainment to the public and getting paid for it to boost his electoral success. You can't be an entertainer. It's not just news programmes. And they've done nothing. The Electoral Commission have done nothing. So I found an Amazon paper, funnily enough. It was a write-up. I don't even know if this is the one document that I don't know whether it's legit or not, but it was on Amazon. I didn't even know that they had a section of Amazon where people can upload kind of academic papers and so forth, but it looks like some sort of study. But that study claims that you can actually, the citizens can bring those election petitions to a special election court, but privately funded, not just funded through the Crown Prosecution Service or the Electoral Commission, right? So that means that we, the people, can. But the thing is, this is like when they challenged Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in New York. You know, they took him to court, and I said that, well, aren't the states supposed to do that? Why should we have to pay for it? Well, yeah, they are if they've done something wrong, but they're refusing to. Now, the thing is, it costs money. If the CPS aren't going to do it, and we pay them through taxpayer money, if they're not refusing to do it on taxpayer money, and if the Electoral Commission are refusing to do it, who's going to do it? Well, you could raise money in a group, put money together, but who's going to give you it to do it, and how much is the lawyer going to charge? But the thing is, this is like if one person calls them out on it, or if another person calls them out on it, oh, you went back on your promises, right? Why didn't that guy in the Black Country, in that pub, who's done this petition, he's getting a lot of publicity now. Why aren't he asking people to send him money? Oh, we'll take him to court. We'll actually take him to court and we'll prosecute, at least his MP, probably and prosecute him for going back on his promises. Well, the thing is, right, he probably could raise money, but firstly, they've put a time limit on. They're saying that, you've got to bring an election petition within a certain amount of time, right, to one of those courts. And thirdly, even if you did bring it within that time, there's just two. The thing is, we're talking about people all over England and every single MP, right? Now, that would mean that everyone in England would be paying money to go to special election courts to challenge every single Labour MP who's gone back on their promises or what they were running on for election. Now, that's going to cost an absolute fortune, right? Now, why should we use a process that was created in 1868 it's not parliamentary privileged anymore for the MPs to decide their own business, right? It's therefore opened up to courts are allowed to do it, special courts. Why should we pay money for that? Because if in one MP's area, right, one or two people called them out and said, just a minute, you went back on your promises, I'm going to prosecute you, right? When 1,000 people or 2,000 people think that, it's a lot of people, right? And in fact, going by the local authorities petitions England rules 2020 or whatever it is, if you get 5% of a local area signing a petition, it's not actually dealt with by the local authorities or councils. Now, you'll say, well, an election's not local council, is it? It's central government. Well, it's called an election petition. This is the thing. Now, local area, this is where you need to know your history. The local 100 dealt with all matters, whether it's civil, criminal, or local council matters, with a jury, right? Now, this separated them into three. So you've got criminal matters with a panel of 3 magistrates, right? You got your local council dealing with, the local roads and highways. And then you've got your county court, which is Party A and Party B, right? Tort, civil suits, right? But it's all meant to be under the local jurisdiction. Now, this is the thing, right? You can bring an election petition to a special election court, which probably usually is the High Court, but I think it starts off in the county court, right? But it's a special court for it, right? The thing is, it is about the local MP. Now, if local parliament have opened up things to be dealt with by the courts, right, then